Borno State is one of the most popular in northeast Nigeria. Coming from the backdrop of over a decade-long insurgency, the state has been able to reposition itself as a model of socio-economic prosperity, an example of hope in the face of adversity. Welcome to Borno Restoration. I'm Jessie Tafida. But first, let's bring you up to speed with Borno today. Activities of Boko Haram insurgents has disrupted the livelihood of people in Borno State. This has made women more vulnerable, especially in the course of catering for the needs of their families. But today, Hope Life Care is assisting 100 vulnerable women with 50,000 naira cash each. The intervention is to boost their living conditions.
Appreciation for Hope Alive to take up this program by being funded by British Council here to see that our women in Borno are being empowered through the disbursement of startup grants so that it will benefit them and they will also support their families.
We need to empower women. Women need to start new businesses. They need to look after their families. They need to look after the communities. And I think this opportunity will help them to start new economic opportunities that will enhance them at the household level and at the community level.
We have been able to reach about 2,000 plus women before now. Most of these people have lost it all before, but I believe with this empowerment, they will be able to know their stand in their community and they will be able to start a little mini business.
I met Sarah, a widow with 4 children. She shared how hard life has been for her and her children. She says, my husband died 7 years ago, and since then, life has become very hard for me. As a single mother, raising 4 children all by myself has never been easy. But with this cash assistance, I will start a business which will no doubt be of great help to me and my children. The gesture is expected to uplift the living standards of the women and those of their immediate families. April 14th, 2014 remains an indelible date in the nation's history. It is the day more than 270 girls were abducted from Government Secondary School Chibok, Borno State, northeast Nigeria. 57 of the schoolgirls were said to have escaped almost immediately after the incident. The terror group Boko Haram claimed responsibility for the abduction in a video released by their then leader, Abubakar Shekau, on May 5th, 2014.
Who are we? Who are we?
Early negotiation brought a spark of hope. The 200 remaining girls will be released quickly, but this was quickly dashed. All negotiation came to a standstill until 13th October 2016, when 21 out of the girls were released. The successful negotiations between the federal government and the militant group renewed hope that more of the girls will soon come out from captivity. Demands for the release of the remaining girls have been relentless since then, with little result.
The government should intensify his security.
The National Human Rights Commission and the Save the Children, the Ministry of Defense, working on safe school declaration to ensure protection of children in school are well protected, ensure from attack or anything attack that is coming.
Majority are also losing hope in the ability to get protected and even in pursuing of the educational career. So I want to use this opportunity to call on the government and relevant agencies to wake up to their own responsibilities to ensure that people's lives and property are protected.
The abduction of the Chibok schoolgirls remain fresh in the minds of Nigerians. Several other abductions have followed, like the 110 schoolgirls from Government Science and Technical College Dapchi in Yobe State, 300 Jangabe schoolgirls in Zamfara, and Kankara schoolboys in Niger.
Boko Haram
once tagged the world's deadliest terrorist group, has continued to terrorize communities around West Africa's Lake Chad region for years. The insurgency is creating fresh hardship for people of the region and compounding the predicament of millions of people in northeast Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and the Republic of Niger. Most of the people are still displaced and struggling to reported with the sum of 100,000 naira each.
What the governor has done to us has really put smiles on our faces. We never thought such a time would come for us to be resettled back to our places of abode. After all we went through, I sincerely want to appreciate Governor Babagana Zulum for bringing us back home. We are hopeful to start our lives back again.
In Kaleri is another housing project inaugurated by Governor Zulum. These 1,000 blocks of houses are meant to advance the state resettlement agenda for IDPs. So far, more than 5,000 houses have been constructed and about 7 communities have been resettled.
It's ongoing across the state, and this is in line with the fact that government went to resettle most of the destroyed communities. Government went to return our IDPs to ancestral and traditional home, and that is why you can see a lot of construction is going on across the state. This is one of them. Here, Kalori, we constructed about 1,020 houses, and therefore it is a giant strike towards resettling our people. Well, we are so far able to resettle about 7 communities. That's cut across Marte, about 1,200 households. We have also resettled Baga, the major fishing town in Borno State. We have also resettled Benki town, which we brought some refugees from Cameroon and some IDPs in Meduguri and Bama. We have also resettled town of Kauri in Kondoga local government. We have resettled Ajiri in Mafalo. So many communities have been resettled so far, and that is why the construction is going on across the state for us to resettle more communities. As you can see, the security situation is improving across the state. The government is trying to see that we almost resettle all distressed communities before the end of this term, God willing.
With the success recorded so far, Governor Zulum is not resting on his oars. The governor has continued to reach out to relevant institutions and collaborate with the federal government and others beyond the shores of Nigeria. He met with the President of Niger Republic, Mohamed Bazoum, in Diffa to discuss the return of refugees to Borno State. With significant improvement regarding the security situation in Borno State, the people are now looking forward to returning to their communities, and Governor Zulum has been working passionately to safely resettle all displaced persons in the shortest possible time. Now, let's bring you our interview with the Director General of the State Emergency Management Agency, Yabawa Kolo, of the activities of the state government in addressing the plight of vulnerable groups. Take a listen. Welcome to Borno Restoration, Ma. Humanitarian intervention has been central to Professor Babagana Zulum's 10 Pacts development agenda. How will you assess the situation so far as Borno is now enjoying relative peace?
When it comes to assessing the humanitarian intervention of the state governor, we rate that one almost 100%, if not more than that, because the rating stop, the bar is 100%. Because you see his passionate concern to see that, we have about 3 categorization. We have the remaining IDPs in some of the camps that we are yet to close, very few, at about 4 camps officially. Then we have the returnees across the border, those that are coming from Minau camp in Cameroon, and also in Boso from Niger Republic. And we also have the host community resettlement. So whichever case you are focusing on, you see that the governor is doing very well in terms of catering for their welfare and their well-being. So you can see he has already constituted a monitoring team comprising frontline MDS like MCRP, Ministry of Reconstruction, Resettlement and Rehabilitation, Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, to see how the civil authority, the traditional institution, and other symbol of authority, they are intact in the resettled community, so that they will give a sense of belonging, and also to build upon the resilience of the returnees, including other locally reintegration mechanisms and activities like social cohesion and peace building. Yes.
Now that some IDP camps have been closed, rehabilitation and resettlement is in top gear. Talk to us about the situation of the resettled IDPs.
The situation of the resettled IDPs, they are doing very well. Even before they go, some packages were given to them, and even before they go to the location identified, we have a lot of issues into consideration, especially the security, the safety of the returnees. And also we go through our checklist, which has different sectoral identification. For instance, when before we take the IDPs, there are a lot of activities that we conduct prior to the transportation or movement to the location. One very important one, we conduct a return intention survey. In the return intention survey, we sit down, we engage with them, sometimes according to different groups. Sometimes we engage the youth, sometimes we engage women, and sometimes the aged. As I told you, some of the aged, they are not willing to go back simply because they cannot trace their own original sort of chain of relationship, because during the displacement we have quite a number of separated aged persons, and also the children, unaccompanied and separated children. For instance, now we've done with all the other camps. Before we go to Gubio, like 2 weeks back I was in Gubio to know the actual number of separated and unaccompanied children, so that when they go back to the settled community, they will not have issues. So these are some of the things. The education, those that are enrolled already into tertiary education, so going back, what happens to their education? So all these things we take into consideration, and when they go back, we also follow them to look at the critical sectors, the availability of the services, the availability of what we call secured environment, how secured is their return or resettled communities. So, so far so good. It's all the resettled communities, we don't have even issues of attacks since they've gone. For instance, we even have overwhelming surge in influx of people coming from captivity to those resettled communities. For instance, even the Ajiri that you see as small village and headquarters of MAPA, we were able to go and profile some of the villagers that came out of captivity, where we profiled almost 500 households. In Burma alone, we have such category close to 65,000 households. So you can see that we have a relative peace in resettled and return community, and the services are okay. We are able to give them the services that they are requiring from us. And for the humanitarian agency like NEMA, SEMA, what usually we do, where agricultural produce, the harvest is not that sufficient, you see the governor himself sometimes leading distribution activities. We go to them very openly, very frequently, to see that they don't like anything. You know, it is not the population is so overwhelming, and the resources, sometimes government alone cannot cover all the needs. The resources of government cannot cover all the needs, but government is trying very hard to see that we provide for them, and the complementarity from the partners is also excellent. because even some of the partners are also following up with their tools to resettle community, to do some basic profiling, to do some basic checking, especially whether we comply with the Kampala Convention and other UN guiding principles on return.
Okay. Now bring us up to speed the plan of SEMA this year vis-a-vis the state government resettlement drive and support to vulnerable people.
SEMA for 2022, we've already developed our corporate plan. So we do things according to the corporate plan, because that document came out of as a result of the institutional strengthening, the needs gaps analysis of SEMA, and we are able to identify, even at that time, the document was developed around 2019. Even at that time, we were able to forecast that one day all these IDP camps will be closed. And when all these IDP camps were closed, so what happened to SEMA? So in the corporate plan and with the law, the reviewed one, that is 2017 SEMA law as amended, we were able to sit down and study the law carefully. And based on that law, we are able to develop the vision, mission, core values, and also other short, medium, and long-term plan for SEMA. And in all this document, especially the corporate plan, the centrality of strengthening the institution, that is the agency, were very clearly projected. And also in that line, we are able to train and build the capacity of the staff to understand that the agency commanded is to move out, or is to address, or especially situation of emergencies, either natural or man-made disaster, as soon as prompt as possible, very prompt, especially whatever happened, the different departments were able to strengthen their title, their nomenclature, what have you, to see that they can move into action promptly to save life. First is to save life. Then second is to give them relief and succor for victims or survivors of disaster, either human error or natural that is happening. So based on that, even in 2021 projection, 2021, both financial and activity plan program, capacity building is number one for the staff. You have to strengthen the capacity of the staff, that they will be well equipped, especially in the area of search and rescue mission, in the area of providing relief services, in the area of conducting organized distributions of items and not bought items. Also in the areas, if possible, we want to strengthen that organization to have GIS, geographic information system in place, especially so that they can forecast. What is happening. It is very advanced technology, but it's part of our very ambitious plan.
Okay, now what sensitizing message do you have for the people of Borno State?
Now the season, especially fire outbreaks, is very rampant these days. So the message that I have for the people of the state is to educate, no matter how little, to sensitize the people around them, sort of safe cooking practices. Our traditional method of cooking is exposing a lot of risks towards fire disaster, because they cook very closely to that local makeshift emergency shelters that we have in the camps and some of the informal settlements in the host communities. So this is message.
Director General State Emergency Management Agency, Abawa Kolo, thank you for your time on Borno Restoration.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Yes.